I think, yeah, it's important in these times as well to sort of widen that circle as well to make Ayurveda more inclusive. And just, again, start where you are, understand your background and how you can incorporate some of those healing herbs into your diet and go from there. Like it's not again,
Yeah.
it's not a quick fix. It's not like I'm going to start taking turmeric tablets every day and all my
Yeah.
problems are going to be solved. You know, something that while you were speaking, I remembered from my childhood was when I was diagnosed with epilepsy, then I started taking a medication that caused me to have a really strong, bad body odor. There was nothing I could do about it because this medication, that was one of the side effects. As a young kid, you do want to be accepted. You want to have friends and you know, you sort of in a vulnerable position where you're just like, okay, well, what do I do about this? If you see that they're struggling with something, you know, just don't hand out random advice.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, support them and get them the help that they need if you really want to help. Otherwise, you know, stay out of it. Don't bother.
Yeah. Hi everyone, welcome back to Zen and Now. And today we're diving into the ancient yet ever relevant world of Ayurveda with Janistha, an Ayurveda health counselor. From unlocking the secret of dosha to simple game-changing habits for balance and vitality. This episode is packed with wisdom to help you live your life in flow with your body and mind. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kishan. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So for the listeners who aren't aware of who Janishta is and where you come from, you just give us a little bit of a background of who you are.
Yeah, sure. So I'm an Ayurvedic health counselor with a background in genetics, human physiology, and psychology. I am based in the Western Cape in South Africa. And I've always been drawn to holistic health. In my younger years, at the first sign of any ailment, I was the one who was concocting some sort of brew, either for myself or for somebody else, just to make them feel better. And in fact, when a friend asked me the one day what it is that I would choose over the career I was currently pursuing, I said I would love to study Ayurveda. So, really, through my own life experiences and health journey, I was drawn towards this ancient healing science that, like you say, holds more value now than ever before.
Yeah. So why the inkling for Ayurveda? I mean, there's so many other practices that one could relate to or, you know, lead to. Why what is there something in your past or something in your upbringing that like just that was the practice that I want to follow?
Yeah, so you know what really drew me to Ayurveda was that it had this deep understanding of mind-body connection. Unlike conventional medicine, which focuses on treating symptoms, Ayurveda looks at the root cause of the imbalance, which could also be multiple factors, right? Like diet, sleep quality, timings of your daily activities, and the way you respond to stress. My personal healing journey really solidified my belief that we needed to treat more than just symptoms. And in my younger years, I worked really hard to eliminate my need for chronic medication to control epileptic seizures. And then again in 2019, I was experiencing severe migraines, bloating, constipation, brain fog, and lethargy, some symptoms that people experience commonly nowadays. And I was
Right.
experiencing them on a daily basis. And it was a very distressing time for me because I felt so far away from myself, so disconnected. And conventional medicine didn't seem to have the answers I was looking for. And that's what led me to search for something more meaningful and, yeah, led me towards Ayurveda.
Amazing. I mean, you were just mindfully aware that probably Western medicine was not kind of like doing it for you, and you needed to find another alternative method of healing. And you know, if you didn't find that, you probably would have been still on that path to finding it, so to speak, if I'm correct in saying that.
Yes, I think it's, there's a common saying that you don't find Ayurveda, Ayurveda finds you. So that's essentially what happened. Your journey leads you towards that path of holistic health.
Yeah. My previous Ayurvedic guest, Anusha Bhaga, I'm not sure if you're aware of her. She's also in an Ayurvedic practicing healer, and she also mentioned that the fast-paced life of corporate, and it also it's kind of like stunted her growth in a little bit. So she needed to find something else to find balance in life. And Ayurveda she was also like very very inquisitive about the practice, very young, introduced to it by her grandfather, and just in the household. So she probably like a kid, absorbed all of that practice, and then something within her own life, sparked that idea of, okay, this is something that I want to do, because it really resonated with her. And is it the same for you?
Yeah, I think, a lot of the practices we grew up with and we really didn't understand where it was rooted. And now that I'm studying it and going deeper into it, I realize that so much of it is just based on loving in harmony with nature, and it just all makes sense. And all of those practices that we grew up with, sometimes we argue with them and it doesn't make any sense. But
Is this our
obviously, a lot
elders? Is
of
this our
them,
elders?
yeah, yeah. Obviously, a
Yeah.
lot of them sort of got distorted along the way. Like, I feel that there are some practices that maybe, we shouldn't be following because it just got distorted, the knowledge got
Right.
distorted. But a lot of it has so much of value. Just in terms, we talk so much these days about seasonal eating and
Mm.
eating for certain ailments. And, like if you could look back at the grandmothers, they used to really incorporate that in the foods that they made. They would make certain things only in winter, certain things only in summer, certain things only for a mother who had just given birth. It's just
Yes, yes,
they would have all of that wisdom and knowledge to say this is what is needed right now. They may have not known why they were doing it, but there was just that inbuilt mechanism in them to
yes.
understand what was needed at the time.
Yeah, I remember my grandmother, my late grandmother. She in winter always used to make karela, and like
Yeah,
you know, for the
yeah.
listeners who don't know what karela is, it's just like the leftovers, the sheep, hooves, and all of that. They're basically called trotters, in
Okay,
Western
okay.
terms.
Yeah,
So, but that had so much of nutrients in them. It smelled horrible, but wintertime, it really was something that, like you said, it's a seasonal thing. You can't have it in summer because it just doesn't make sense. But she would make that in winter, like just to warm your body, your soul, just so that But it's their way of like saying, "This is where I'm taking care of you."
yeah, yeah, definitely. And that's a big thing in Ayurveda. A lot of the energy that you prepare something with and offer it to another person, that exchange of energy is felt. And like, so that food can become very healing, the touch can become very healing. So that awareness that something deeper, something more subtle exists is a big part of Ayurveda as well.
Yeah. Do you feel? I know Ayurveda has many aspects of it. What's your main focus? Is it more on the nutritional side, or is it on the more healing and the cosmetic side of it?
Um, so before even discovering Ayurveda, I myself was focused on external solutions for my problems instead of understanding that the environment had a role to play, the time of the day had a role to play, the seasons, and even my own choices were affecting everything that was happening to me. So, in my own practice, I try to incorporate all aspects of a person's, whether it comes to their diet, whatever they're doing every day, incorporating all of that to
Right.
build a plan that will work for their lifestyle. Because what works for me is not going to work for you because you have a different day, you have a
Yes.
different career. So whatever is going to work for me is definitely not going to work for you. So that's what I try and incorporate, is fine tuning it and personalizing it to the person's needs for that time in their lives.
Okay. And I mean, Ayurveda uses a lot of Oriental ingredients. As Gujaratis, as Hindus, we know we grow up with those uh, within our palates from a very young age. Do you have like clients that come to you from like or backgrounds that don't have that upbringing, and they start to that incorporate that into their lifestyle? Do you see a change within their dietary improvements, or is it something that they just take on holistically?
Yeah, so Ayurveda has this term called Satmaya. And Satmaya means that which you are habituated to is what is good for you. So even when you want to start incorporating some of the herbs into your diet, you have to introduce it very slowly. It
Yes.
has amazing benefits, but if you're just going to go from the diet that you were used to, that you were brought up with, if you switch immediately onto like a total different diet, it's not going to have a very good effect on the body. So yeah, by slowly incorporating a few more herbs into your cooking, some spices, that will really help. I think an important thing that we are trying to establish now as Ayurvedic professionals is that um, you don't have to eat Indian food to eat Ayurvedic food.
Okay.
So basically, you would just have something that is warm, freshly cooked, has some herbs and spices, has some good fats, create that sort of balance in the meal with all the tastes, because usually when we lack one of the tastes, then we have more of the cravings because
Yes.
we're not getting fully satiated. So I think, yeah, it's important in these times as well to sort of widen that circle as well, to make Ayurveda more inclusive, and just again, start where you are, understand your background and how you can incorporate some of those healing herbs into your diet, um, and go from there. Like it's not again,
Yeah.
it's not a quick fix. It's not like I'm going to start taking turmeric tablets every day and all my
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
problems are going to be solved. So
No, everything
yeah,
is a long journey. It
just
takes time to
yeah,
to
yeah,
get to find
exactly.
that point where you feel comfortable now with the practice. But sometimes it becomes like your norm. You know, once you start incorporating it, once you start learning that this is good for me. And I mean, sure, you try it and maybe it's not something for you. And you know, you've tried it at least. That's what I
Yeah,
feel. Um,
yeah.
I mean, we have coming from a background of eating protein, you know, animal protein, still do till today. But we also make sure that we incorporate the greens, like you said, the fats, the healthy fats, the omegas, everything into our diet, so that we're not overly reliant on one, you know, to sustain ourselves. So I think we did have best of both worlds growing up. We did have the animal protein with, you know, the non-animal proteins like your chana dals, all of those things, the mugs and all of that, mung beans and all of that, because I feel like it just balanced us out in a way. But also sometimes I this is my profession, this is my just my take on it. Sometimes I feel like we don't get enough of it. We didn't get enough of the clean eating that, so to speak, you know, the general term nowadays, clean eating. Do you find our way of consuming is part of that, or is it just something that we can incorporate as as brown people, as Hindus?
So another thing that I would like to mention, Ayurveda is not vegetarian and actually looks at all sources of food as medicine. So depending on what your body needs at that time, that recommendation will be given to you. That being said, obviously meat is part of a lot of cultures across the
Mm.
world. And I think the problem these days is just the source of the meat, the way the animals are treated. They are injected with a lot of chemicals, a lot of hormones, all of that to make them more appealing or more like to keep up with production, basically. So when making those choices about, even what types of meat to consume, just make sure it's from a good source. um, when I think of when I was growing up, I wasn't brought up vegetarian, and we would get our chickens from the uncle on one street
Yeah,
below us, and he used to sort of breed those chickens on his own. It
yeah,
wasn't from some store packaged in a packet or anything. It was fresh. He brought it from the farm on the day we would get it, and
yeah.
my granny would cook it.
Cook it.
And yeah, a lot has changed since then, right? We don't get that
No,
quality anymore. So it's important to check the source of your all all our foods, right? So
yeah,
yeah, so coming back to, the Indian diet, I think a lot of it has been, what I notice from my Indian clients as well is that a lot of us tend to eat a lot of carb heavy food because we are trying to sort of compensate for one thing over the other, and not
yeah,
realizing that maybe we have some sort of imbalances. Also eating heavy meals late towards the late part of the evening, that's something that a lot of us do,
yeah,
and which is not recommended because your food needs time to digest, and when it doesn't digest well, then you're going to bed on this heavy stomach, and then you're waking up feeling terrible. So yeah, it's very difficult to say like like certain cultures have certain things that are wrong with it, but all in all, I would say that just sort of a more mindful approach of what we eating, when we eating, how we are eating it, and where's the source of this food coming from. Those are questions that we need to start asking and being more aware of when we are
yeah.
consuming food.
I mean, so much of our food now is homogenized. There's so much of unnatural ingredients going into them to make them probably bigger and more appealing. Uh, we see it here over in Canada as well. Like some of the, like you said, some of your proteins and even some of the fruits. I mean, that come from the US and stuff. They have, in size wise, you can see the difference from when fruits or ingredients come from like South America or South Africa. You can literally see the difference between the two. And I myself now with Tejal, we we started to become more aware of what we consume because we actually now take time just to look at the label, as a back of what it contains. I never did that before. I would just like take whatever it is on the shelf and consume it. However, it did make me aware like some things aren't really good for you, so you just got to be aware of, like you said, we used to get your chickens from like the farm, straight from the farm, fresh. No no changes. There was nothing done to them, to make them feel or to make them more appealing to the consumer. It was just fresh, whatever was there you ate, and that's it. And you got the full package of that protein from that source. But you make an interesting point also, like we always ate supper at certain times of the day, like 6:30 onwards or 6 p.m. onwards. What is a preferable time to consume dinner to allow your body then to digest and be in that state of balance?
So if we look at the time that is recommended to go to bed, Ayurveda recommends that we are in bed by 10 o'clock because that is when our body starts to detoxify and sort of, just process everything that has happened for the day. And if we look then backwards on the clock, if we take almost 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, that is recommended as a time that is best to have your last meal. Not, because if you go to bed on a heavy stomach, then you feel very uncomfortable. Your body is also focused on digestion instead of resting, right?
Right.
So that's one of the things that you should take into consideration when having your last meal. I remember one of my one of the things that I used to do previously was after dinner, just then sit by the TV, have some chocolates, have some
Yeah.
sweets, and yeah, I wasn't realizing that sort of was adding on to my load of what my body had to digest, and then going to bed with all of that wasn't that great either. So yeah, just honoring that time, honoring your digestion, knowing that we can't keep overloading ourselves with food. It's not needed.
So for somebody who has a sweet tooth after dinner and they really want that, that fix. I know there's healthy options out there in Ayurveda. Is there a type of product that or type of sweet that you can have, say pre bedtime that you can recommend?
So I want to ask you a question. When you used to go to weddings or any functions, what would be on the table first before any meals would come out?
Variety.
Before the biryani, so before that. So on the
Oh,
entrance hall tables, when you're walking into the function, what would be on the
oh yeah,
table?
yeah, like Copra Park and all of those things. Barfi,
All the
yeah,
sweetmeats, right?
jalebis, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if we look at it, the first phase of digestion is the sweet taste. So when we
Okay.
have something sweet before our meal, that activates the digestive process. It
Ah,
sends a signal to the body to start digestion. And then afterwards, if we have the other taste, then it will digest well because the digestive enzymes have been activated and everything can happen for proper digestion. When we have something sweet at the end of a meal, that is what makes us heavier, makes us feel more lethargic because the sweet taste at the end of the meal slows down the digestion.
okay.
So if you notice, even when we used to go to functions, we would have like the soji or the
Yes,
sikhan,
first
that would come out first, and then the rest of the meal. And then lastly, you would have the variari, which was just a mix of the fennel seeds and
to break
the
down.
small little sweets. It wasn't like a very rich or very sweet thing to chew on.
Yeah,
So
like a
that would
cleanser,
help
basically.
aid, yeah, and that would also aid the digestive process. So just keeping that in mind, just not having that sweet at the end of the meal.
Okay, so next time I go to the restaurant, the first thing I order is dessert.
They'll be very confused, but yeah,
I'll be telling them, look, I'll be educating them like this is how, the digestive system prepares for all the good stuff that I'm going to consume after this. So probably the waiter
yeah.
will be looking at me like, why?
Yeah.
But what
Or you could
you make
wait.
it,
Yeah. Or you could
yeah, you
wait
make,
for dessert a few hours later, just have your main meal and then, yeah. Yeah.
no, thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of us didn't actually know that. But now that you explain it, it puts it into perspective a lot more. Because, like you said, we always go to function, and the first thing is the sweet meat table, and
Yeah.
everybody's ready to consume that, ready to pick on the burfis and the jalebis and
Yeah.
whatever else is there. And after that, you feel like I told today. I think we still crave, variety after a meal because it's like sorbet. It's like a palate cleanser for us. It's like
Yeah.
it gives you a feeling of like, okay, I'm done, right?
Yeah. It's an excellent digestive aid, so that's what probably makes you feel so good is because the food is now settled
Yes,
and can process properly. Yeah.
right. You mentioned in the beginning of the podcast that you're now based in the Western Cape. Uh, I must have understand that you were brought up in Pretoria in the north of Johannesburg. Do you think changing locations change your mindset? The reason I ask
So,
this is because when we live when we brought up in our communities, we only know what is within our own space. But now when you start, experiencing life outside of that spectrum, your perspective changes. Perspectives change, mindset changes. Do you feel that happened to you as well when you relocated?
Yeah, definitely. So my relocation wasn't straight from Pretoria to the city part of Western Cape. It was more to the a remote rural sort of area. And I think that, so it was in the middle of the Karoo. And I think that's
Oh wow.
what sort of just shifted my mindset a lot. In the city, we used to a lot of instant gratification. If we want something, we can just go out and buy it.
Right.
And even access to healthcare was just so easy. You got sick, you went to the pharmacy, you got some medicines, you went to the doctor, you got some medicines, and everything was fine. Well, also we thought. um, but then living in that rural sort of remote area, I realized that everything wasn't as easy access anymore. And if I had to get sick, I had to take care of myself, or my husband was there to take care of me, but then it was just the two of us. There
Right.
wasn't an additional person that we could rely on, or even in terms of healthcare, like just go to the doctor or just get some medicines from the pharmacy. That wasn't there. So that sort of really helped me to shift my mindset on realizing that, we really needed to identify what it is that was making us ill, what would feed health instead of disease, and also just, living every day with what we had available to us. You sort of get into this mindset where you start feeling lack, because you're like,
Mm.
oh, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. And that can be very damaging to your mental health because you're always living in a state of lack.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you've heard, the more you feel like you don't have, the more you won't have. So, just shifting that attitude to like, okay, what is available to me and what do I have? What tools do I have that can help me at this point in time? So, I think that was also a big awakening for me, is that, we don't have to always rely on the things that we've been taught we need. It's Life can be so simple. Life can be so beautiful without all of those
Mm.
added things.
Yeah.
And that, I think, shifted my mindset a lot. When you were asking me this question, I also thought of something that came to mind. Something came to mind when you asked me that question. So I remember the one day I was helping out at the Gujarati school with dance practice, and there was a teacher there who always complimented me about the dancing, but she always said that my skin was so bad because, of hormonal acne and all of that. And every time she would try and
That's not
give me
nice.
every time she would try and give me some sort of solution or something I could try, some remedy, or she would tell me I was eating too many chocolates or something. And I knew at that time in my life I was going through a lot of changes as well. I was on chronic medication, which meant that,
Yeah.
the chemical balance in your body is always, something is always off.
Yes.
And I was trying to figure it out myself. But what really sort of prompted me then to study Ayurveda and to just understand the essence of it, because I wanted to help others and I didn't want to just give some sort of advice that was like told to me by someone else. Like that
Yeah.
same experience that I had, people keep telling you, try this, try this, try this, try this face cream, try this face pack, drink this tea, like there's so much. You can get so overloaded, you can get so overwhelmed and stressed out with all of the remedies that you try. And
Yeah.
that is something that I didn't want for others, like understanding that my body is unique. What works for you is not going to work for me. that is what I wanted to bring forward in my practice of helping people, just helping them to come to understanding their body and what is needed for their imbalances that they were facing at that time. So that is one of the things that also shaped my decision. And also, you asked how did I grow from, moving to different places. It's just also having that quiet time, just to say, okay, what is it that I want from this life, and what is it that we are pursuing in this life?
Yeah.
And, all of the solutions are there, but is everything for me? So yeah, that was a big turning point as well.
You make an interesting point there about, when your dance teacher made you or tried to make you aware that something physically is not right with you. And I feel, sorry, it just take me back to like my own childhood, and when friends and or just general people would make you, conscious about your appearance. It made you feel really small, like something was wrong with you. But at that time, we all were just in our own bodies, we were growing into our bodies. And yes, certain things are, they're not aesthetically pleasing to the eye on someone. And, they made you feel self-conscious about yourself. Self-confidence then starts to develop. You start questioning everything about yourself. And for me, that was really something that took effect. I really started to doubt myself in a way. I was like, am I good enough? Am I whatever it was? And growing up till at certain age, when you start transitioning um, from kid to preteen to teen, it's always very confident about myself or in my abilities. And when I reached a certain stage of my life, I didn't understand why people would pick on me certain ways. And I started to like then act in ways where weren't aligned with who I was. Because then I started to hide. I started to, do things secretly. And I come back to now where you said it made you feel like there was probably, you probably felt something was wrong with you. Why is she picking on me? But she's, she's giving me praise for my dance, but what's the problem with my face? There's nothing wrong with it. So are you saying something is wrong? And that's why I think why society, we need to break those kind of thought processes where everybody is going through their own journeys and own struggles. We need to be kind to everybody. Doesn't matter what they look like or what what you deem is unfit for society. We come in this toxic culture that's why so many people in this day and age are looking for avenues to heal from their inner child or from their childhoods, because they understand those were such detrimental times for them, because somebody just out there just didn't feel comfortable with themselves, so they projected it onto you.
100%. Yeah. That's, something that while you were speaking, I remembered from my childhood was when I was diagnosed with epilepsy, then I started taking a medication that caused me to have a really strong, bad body odor. And I noticed obviously people around me, especially I was in school, and school kids were treating me differently, obviously. And there was nothing I could do about it because this medication, that was
Yeah.
one of the side effects. And you feel really excluded, you feel really stressed out because, as a young kid, you do want to be accepted, you want to have friends, and you sort of in a vulnerable position where you're just like, okay, well, what do I do about
What do I
this?
do? Yeah.
And eventually, obviously, I did get other medication, which was just as effective and didn't have the effect of this body odor. But then in high school, I remember there was a girl who was one of my friends, and all of a sudden she started having really bad body odor, and it just like sort of came out of nowhere, and we couldn't understand it. We didn't know what changed, like what was happening. And I
Yeah.
think as younger kids, even that time, we didn't know how to support each other. Like we we didn't know how to reach out and say, are you okay? I think kids nowadays are more open, talk about things. But in my time, it was more about like, hiding things. Like you didn't want people to find out that you were sick. If you had an illness, if you had anything going on with you, you didn't want anyone to find out. And I remember the one day, then she had an epileptic seizure in class. And that's when I realized, okay, so maybe she was taking medication for it, and that's what caused her bad body odor. And that sort of just, humbled me to say, we really don't know what's going on in other people's lives. And we sort of just tend to just, judge and then jump on the first thought that comes to mind, like, oh, okay, she's not taking care of
Yeah,
herself or bathing or whatever it
right.
is, something so silly, right? Where we don't really understand. And I think that also comes back again to, people giving out random advice. You don't understand where the person is coming from. And if you see that they're struggling with something, just don't hand out random advice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Support them and get them the help that they need if you really want to help. Otherwise, stay out of it. Don't bother.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break.
Now I understand it was just probably their own insecurities projected onto you. But like you said at the time, you don't really
Yeah,
understand it because you kind of like, I
yeah,
didn't do anything to you. Why are you picking on me, so to
yeah,
speak? And
yeah,
I recently was told also I was on the other side of that as well. Like I was the one who was the bully as well. So I didn't understand it as well. I think I think we were in preschool,
yeah,
and I was made aware of it now today, like this year, and I don't remember it at all. And I
yeah.
apologized. I made sure that to make the person feel like it wasn't intentional then the way I acted, but if I
Mhm.
did, so please forgive me. And I think uh, we have to also understand we probably also were those people some point in our lives to somebody. We need to acknowledge that part of ourselves as well, because I think we also want to be part of the group that doesn't want to be ostracized. But then I think 90% of the time we were the people that were ostracized and made fun of, and just put on that spectrum of you're not good enough.
Yeah,
So
and that's the thing, like we constantly changing, we constantly evolving as human beings. The person that I was 2 years ago or even a month ago is not the same person that I am right now. Like, I've grown so much. There's so many experiences that I've had since then. And that's the same sort of attitude we need to allow, we need to approach other people with as well. It's like, if you've seen a person from when you were a kid and you remember some incident that happened between the two of you, they're probably not the same person now,
yeah,
You've changed so much. And I think allowing everyone that space to evolve and to grow only makes us feel lighter and, able to move on. If we keep holding on to things that people have said to us in the past, it only just brings us down and weighs us down. It's a lot to carry. So, just having that,
yeah,
allowing some grace for people to be as they need to be and letting them learn as they are meant to learn on their life path.
yeah. Just being compassionate to them and yourself. Life is like that. It's ups and downs. It's never just a smooth gradient, and we have to go through some of those paths or some of those challenges to actually grow. As like you said, we constantly evolving, and I think it's how you choose to evolve is important as well, because you can also just choose to stay in the state of where you are, and that's okay. I guess everybody is just trying to figure life out and circumstances or your environment, and we have to be also aware that yes, I can take you to the water. How you drink is up to you, so to speak. We all
Yeah,
have
so
we all have the option to
yeah.
make a change. We have the choice.
So Ayurveda has this beautiful explanation of, why we get sort of stuck in a certain place. And it's based on the three mental qualities that we can have. So you can either have a sattvic state of mind, a rajasic state of mind, or tamasic state of mind. And so tamasic is where, you very dull and lethargic and don't really want to do anything, make any sort of change in your life. Rajasic is, sort of over hyperactivity,
Yeah.
either very happy or very, over excited. And then there's the sattvic state, where you just feel calm and grounded and centered and, able to you make decisions and move forward with that. So when we are so in our daily lives, obviously we're striving towards that sattvic state of mind where we can, have that energy and clarity to move forward. Where sometimes you can be in a tamasic state where you just like lethargic, you don't want to
Yeah.
do anything. And then the rajasic state obviously is when you all super hyped up, but
Yeah.
it's not about wanting to be it's about striving for the sattvic state, but also acknowledging that there'll be times in your life where it's that rajasic, where you need that drive and that energy and
Yes.
that enthusiasm to get something done. Whereas the tamasic state is also needed because we need to rest and we need to sleep and we need to rejuvenate. If we didn't have those qualities, then we would just be hyper all the
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah. I'll probably
So
burn out
it's
within so quickly.
yeah, yeah. So it's that beautiful sort of like culmination of all of those principles and just recognizing that those principles exist. Often we want things to be like perfect. We want
Yes.
like everything must be good, all the time. But that is not what life is, right? It's a mix of everything happening all the time. So just even taking that step back and realizing, some days somebody may be in that tamasic state and they can't get out of it, and that's what sort of, that's a state that leads people to depression most of the time,
Mhm.
is because, in such a low state. And just to sort of give them guidelines to come out of that state, that is also where the concept of prana comes in.
Yes.
So the name of my blog is the Prana Plate, and that's where the concept of prana comes in. When the prana in the body is very low, you feel those feelings of heaviness, of dullness, of sadness, and when the prana in the body comes up, you feel more lighter, more
Right.
enthusiastic, more energetic. So just recognizing that the body goes through these phases, and if you are feeling very down or very sad or very like you can't, get past a certain point, just recognize that this is the quality that is dominating right now. And in order to move past it, I need to do something to raise the level of prana.
Right.
And yeah, it's so beautiful to understand it that way, because then you're not stuck to say, okay, I am this kind of person
Yeah.
all the time. It allows that change and that growth to happen naturally, and just accept that this exists and this is the way life moves.
I used to talk to myself like that, whereas I used to use I am. And I was very critical of myself in that way. Whereas now I reframed it. I changed it to I feel an emotion. It's not I am that emotion anymore. I feel that
Hmm.
emotion.
Hmm.
And I'll feel it at say 10 minutes, and next minute I'll be feeling another emotion. It's like,
Yeah.
in the Western Cape, you'll have like all four seasons in one day. It's similar like in Canada, in Toronto as well. One
Yeah.
day it'll be like in the morning, it'll be sunny, glorious sunshine, and within an hour, overcast, dark, windy, gloomy. And I think that's how we go through life as well as human beings with our emotions as well. We're just we're finding the right balance to surf the wave of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, if we get stuck in one place for a long time, then that's when you need to say, okay, I need to, do something to get out of it. But yeah, just recognizing that these things happen every day. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
just
sort of
looking at
building
your
that.
yeah.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, you were
Keep
saying,
going.
yeah, it's just about building that resilience and to be kind to yourself when you go through those states.
Yeah, yeah,
Just looking at your Instagram page as well, it's like full of color, full of vibrant, foods and just positivity, and you're just trying to, give people the sense of hope in terms of just living a more authentic life. And I think we always like craving for vitamin D in the north because it's
yeah,
so scarce. We took it for granted when we were in South Africa
yeah,
that vitamin D was like every day we used to get sunshine, birds
yeah,
chirping, waking up to that African sun. And when you come to the north, you realize how much of impact that had on your life in a healthy way. Hence
mm,
why I say your page is full of color, which then projects that onto people because when they see color, they see vibrancy, they feel good about themselves. Not all the time, but if they are in that state of, like you said, what's the state of lethargicness and
Tamas,
yes,
tamasic state. Yeah,
yes, and they come to your page and they'll see, oh, okay, it's got so much of color, so much of vibrancy. It starts to inject some form of healing flow within themselves. They won't know it, but subconsciously it's happening.
yeah. Thank you.
I mean, I've learned that along the way. The world is not black and white. It's not gray. It's your perception of what it's like. If you see color, you'll see color. If you're just black and white, you'll only see black and white. But there is an option to also accept that there are other colors within life as well.
Yeah. And that's ultimately what shapes whether we shapes whether we go on the path of health or on the path of illness, right? Because
Mhm.
a lot of what we experience every day is creating sort of impressions in our mind. And, how we perceive that is how what we project in our own lives. And if we constantly perceive the world to be a terrible place, then that's what the world will be. And, we try to say, okay, while that part of life exists, there is this other side as well. And, which part are you going to choose to focus on? And that's something, I watched this nice documentary on Netflix, and they were saying that these people lived so isolated from the world of the news, right? Because every day we're getting world from news from all over the world,
Yes,
and sometimes there's nothing we can really do about it. We can maybe praise and like positive energy towards that situation, but there's nothing that we can physically do about it.
yes,
And they were saying that these people lived stressful lives as well because they also needed to, they had jobs, they had to bring in an income for their family, they had
right.
challenges, all of those daily challenges. But the one thing that they didn't have was exposure to this constant technology, the news of the world
Yes,
constantly coming in. And that's something that I realized as well, like in my own life. Like, every day you can like scroll through people's stories, you can scroll on your Instagram feed or Facebook, wherever social media,
doom
and you
scrolling.
got all of these notifications about things that are happening around the world. And you sort of like lose sense of, what is it that you want to do in the
Yes,
world. This, we all have something that we want to really do, we want to give back. But we have so much of things that get thrown at us all the time that we sort of forget, okay, what is it that I was here for in the first place?
exactly.
So, that's something also we need to take a step back from, just constantly getting news from all over the world, just trying to, in our own communities, in our own sort of circles, how are we able to contribute to the people around us? That's something that I really took from that from that documentary.
Nice. Funny you say that. Just actually, this week, I felt like I needed to reset my social media feeds. I needed to clear cache. I needed to clear all the content that wasn't working for me, and I had to reset because I felt like I was going down the path of just mind numbing. Because obviously, what's happening in the States right now, it's affecting Canada as well. So you invested in it. So you want to know whether it affects you or not on your personal level. And some of it gets so much of propaganda-ish type of media. It gets just filtered onto your feeds because obviously our phones are listening and the algorithms pump whatever they feel you need at the time. And it just started becoming a bit toxic. So before I would have never done anything about it. Say maybe 6-7 years ago, I would have left it because I wasn't in a state where I thought, okay, this is never going to affect me. But now that I'm a bit more mindful of what I want to ingest, I felt, okay, it's time to purge. It's time to reset. I don't take it away. I'm not taking it away, but all I'm doing is just resetting myself so that I start to consume things that I want to, not what is being pushed onto me. So
Yeah, I think, it's important to realize that, this duality exists in the world. There's always going to be something, the good and the bad. And for every good thing, there's something bad. For every bad thing, there's something good, right?
good.
And that's
Yeah.
the way the world
Yin yang.
exists. Yeah, yeah. So, like you say, what is it that you want to consume every day? What is it that you want to bring more of into your life every day? I think also something that Ayurveda has sort of solidified in me is the fact that we can respond to situations instead of reacting to situations. I think, like also growing up in the community of Lodium, everything was always a reaction, like, okay,
Yeah.
this happened now, like these are all of the consequences after that, just now taking a step back and saying, okay, what is it that we can do about this situation? How can we go about it in a way that is beneficial to others and not like, just sort of creating more chaos? Because that's what happens sometimes, you want to
Yes.
solve a problem, but you end up creating more chaos, you end up hurting people with your words, and it doesn't turn out the way you had intended. But just taking a step back and saying, okay, let's see what are the available options that we have and how can we find a solution to this. And that's one thing that has really changed, since now that you asked me that question earlier. That's something that has really changed since I came out of that
Right.
community that was constantly in a reactive state.
Yeah. Makes sense. And what does like a day take us through your day? An Ayurvedic practitioner, what time does your day start? Can you just give us a breakdown of what your day looks like?
So, if I had to tell you all the things that I do every day, you would probably be like, oh my God, that's a lot.
Hey, no judgment, no judgment. That's a safe space. No judgment.
But the one thing that Ayurveda has really taught me is those self-care practices are so, so important. We tend to take it for granted how the little things can, add up to your overall big picture of health.
Yeah.
So on a typical day, I'm sort of looking at a weekday where I would wake up, use the bathroom, brush my teeth. One of the things that we, recommend in Ayurveda is tongue scraping and oil
Oh, yeah.
pulling. I don't get to do the oil pulling part very often, but tongue scraping is something that it's just part of the brushing teeth routine now. Another thing that I do is Abhyanga. Abhyanga is a self body massage every day before getting into the shower. It sort of just lubricates and protects your skin. You know, our skin is our largest sense organ. So if we create a healthy barrier, like you say, then we're able to, respond to external toxins. It also helps to make us feel a bit calmer, and just gives us that grounding, and it sort of creates better circulation as well. So that's something that I do every day, and then go and shower, and then I make breakfast and lunch, and after that, I'll do my breath work and meditation and then start my day. My day includes either consultations, it also includes studies because I'm furthering my studies in Ayurveda. Also working on my online store, packing orders or thinking of what new products I'd like to bring to people. I do what else do I do? Yeah, and just sort of as the day goes on, um, just making those small times to even just sit down with my meal. That's one thing I've learned also. I was a person who would like just rush through my meals, like just eat it like to get done. And I was like, oh my God, I take so much time to prepare food, but I like eat it in
You're
like
not
5 minutes and
yeah.
it's done. Yeah. That's one of the things that I notice even with a lot of my clients who have come to me, and they said, that was like such a big shift for them as well, because you just go through your day and you just sort of don't like notice even what is it that you're doing every day. It's just like trying to get a lot of tasks done. Yeah, and then in the evenings, to meditation again, because the whole day has gone by and you've accumulated so much of stuff. You've seen so many things, you've heard so many things. You just need to sort of drop everything and then go into the rest of your evening. And then I try my best to get to bed by 10 o'clock every day. It doesn't always happen, but yeah, I try to stick to that timing. And yeah, I think the one thing that Ayurveda has taught me is that just doing one thing at a time, not trying to do a lot of things. That's the big thing about food. People are working, or they're walking, or they're catching the next train, or doing whatever it is, and then they're busy trying to eat, and eating is such a sacred thing. We need to bring that back. It's that sacred act of nourishing your body. And that's the source of, in Ayurveda, there's this term called Ojas. Ojas is you can say, is our immunity or our vitality. And Ojas is the product that is produced after all of our body tissues have been nourished. So the food and the essence of the food that we take in nourishes all of our body tissues. And what's left after that is our Ojas, our vitality, our immunity. And so you can just imagine what an important role food has then, because it goes through this whole cycle in our body, and then eventually we have that immune strength that has been produced. And I feel like that's something, why are people having so many autoimmune conditions these days, is because we've been so disconnected from, what, besides the quality of the food, just like, slowing down and being with that meal, being present with it. Our bodies, what is an autoimmune condition? It's just the body saying that I don't even recognize this body anymore. Yes, exactly. So it's just that disconnection that has happened. And that is something that we need to, revive, is that connection between ourselves, that communication with ourselves every day. And I see so many people who are just rushing and running through life. I mean, I was there as well. That's obviously what led me to that burnout point. And then I was like, okay, I don't even know what's happening in my own body anymore. I don't know what it's asking me for. And it's that pursuit of that, trying to get that work-life balance. I mean, it's always that, right?
Yeah.
How do I balance work and life? And that's that's something that I notice a lot of my clients as well just struggle with, is trying to get back to um, themselves, and just honoring that I have this time to myself,
Yeah.
and I need to take this time for myself.
I mean, I remember till today, we still have supper on the table, the whole family, whatever it was. A certain time,
Yeah.
everybody came home and we all had supper on the table. Nobody was sitting in the kitchen, by themselves, or sitting in the rooms or the TV room or whatever it was. We all sat down, we ate a meal as a family.
Yeah.
And we try and do it till today between myself and my wife. We sit down and we have a meal on the table. We might have external noises around us, but at least we are focused. I mean, we are present in that moment, having our meal on the table, and we're not rushing or doing something else. Yes, I understand sometimes life happens and you need to be on the go, which is normal. We can't have it perfect all the time. But like you said, we should try and at least have that meal, have that time, say even 10-15 minutes, just have your meal and focus on the meal. Don't focus on a meeting that's coming up after that or whatever you need to do. The meeting, you focus on the meeting, you won't eat, right? So why not do the other for your food?
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and just again that thing of doing one thing at a time. There's I'm trying to think of the line now, but it's just escaped my mind. But it really says that the mind can only do one thing at a time. And that is also, that whole act of just being there present with whatever you're doing right now. That is what also helps us to be more calm, more grounded, more centered. It's like if I'm having this conversation with you right now, that is what I should be doing. I shouldn't be trying to like boil pasta on the stove or trying to do anything else at that time, because when the mind is scattered all over the place, that's when we feel so stressed and overwhelmed. And I like that you say that, sometimes it's not possible to do that all the time. Some days you have to just, break out of that. Okay, this is my comfort space. But right now I have to do something differently. Like I'll have to eat my sandwich on the go because that's the only way that I'm going to get to my next destination. And that is something so important that, we sort of, sometimes people forget, is that Ayurveda is not rigid in a sense where it's like, oh no, if you didn't eat your meal with all six tastes and without your glass of water and sitting on the floor and all of that, and, with your spine erect or and sitting in Vajrasana afterwards or something, all of those things. It's not rigid in that sense. It says that, okay, these are the guidelines, and realize that if you consistently do something over a long period of time, then that's the results or the effects or the consequences you will have. So if you're constantly having your meal on the go, then obviously you're going to be depleted of your nutrients. Your digestion is not going to be good. But if it's once in a while that you do it, it's totally fine.
Understandable.
Yeah. It's
I
even
mean,
with the
given
food,
that. Go ahead.
Even with the food, it's, once in a while, if you have that meal that is not that, great, if you're going to have like that chip roll with all of the
No, I mean, you have cravings. It's
sauces
not
and whatever.
it's not in excess.
Yes. So everything in moderation. That's the other key. Yeah.
No, I agree with you there. It's not easy to follow a certain routine every single day. Something I struggle with is multitasking. I try and like stay present with one task, even if it's simple thing like making the bed. Make the bed,
Yeah.
and then move on to the next one. Whereas I sometimes make the bed and I'll check my phone. So I struggle with that at times. I'm mindful of it. I just need to really be present in that moment. I do it with some tasks, not with others. So something that I'm
Yeah.
really invested in, I will give my full 100% like this.
Yeah.
I'll give 100%. So I think we need to also know what's important. So making the bed is important because it starts your day, it makes you gives you a sense of completion of a task, a routine basically, and something I have been struggling with, but I know I am doing something about it to stay mindful and just be present in that moment, enjoy it, and then move on to the next one. Yes, like you said, at times we have to have multitasking going on around us, but it shouldn't be the norm.
So that's when that burnout happens, is because we're doing so many things all the time. It's not just, you're not just taking a break, you're taking a step away. And you mentioned about making the bed and checking your phone, and sometimes you do that because, okay, while you're putting your cushion, then
Yeah.
a message comes in and you're like, oh, okay, I wonder if it's this person, if they finally got back to me.
Yes.
But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, like, that. um so in that sense, like when you talk about the doshas in Ayurveda, then it says that, when you want to do a lot of things at once, then that aggravates the vata dosha. And
Right.
vata dosha is that energy of very light, it's the dominant of air and space element. So that's why we feel so sort of scattered and,
Yes.
all over
Yes.
the place, because we just want to do too many things, right? And
Yes.
it's so nice to recognize, oh, okay, if I'm trying to do a lot of things, I'm going to aggravate my vata dosha. So I need to just come back to my center and try and just finish making the bed and then check my phone. That will sort of just help you again to come back and say, okay, I haven't aggravated my vata dosha. Vata dosha is very happy now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or even though I'm
Yeah.
not practicing Ayurveda, I am practicing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah, Ayurveda exists there, whether you like it or
Yes.
not. It is there in your everyday.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not, yeah, it's not that, you just becoming aware of it helps you to sort of say, oh, okay, if I'm doing this right now, this is what's happening. When you feel that like you can't focus and you can't concentrate, then you can say, okay, it's my vata dosha that's throwing me
Right.
all over the place, and I need to do something to come back to my center.
Yeah. Or if you're not actually a practicing Ayurvedic person, you won't say vata, but you'll be like, okay, no, I'm I'm messing around now. I need to go back to something that I've been doing before. Okay, put this down and go back to that task. Come back to it when you're done.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's also how we rephrase things in our mind. I struggle with being in an anxious state for some period of time. It's not very healthy. However, nowadays I have tools to help me manage or reduce that amount of time I am in feeling anxiety. So before I would be elongating it to a point where it just deprives me of everything that I need to do or I want to do in life. Because I'm so focused on something that's I feel is never going to happen, one, or is about to happen and never occurs. And that's when I'm in a state of anxiousness to a point where I'm just depleting my own body, mind, body, and soul of just enjoying being in the moment where something has not prevailed yet. And I feel I'm not there yet, but I feel I'm getting better at just being in a moment instead of just trying to do too many things. Like you go on a vacation, take too many pictures, take too many videos. Go on a vacation and be on the vacation. However, I know that okay, I this is how I want to vlog. This is what I want to do. And yeah, at times I want to vlog, I want to take pictures, but there's also times where I just want to sit and be in that moment and enjoy the scenery that I'm experiencing. So it's a lifelong journey, and we're never gonna get it right. But we just have to be kind to ourselves, and when we don't get it right, then that's okay. It's just a learning experience.
Yeah, there's also another little wisdom from Ayurveda. They say that the connection between our inner and our outer world is through our breath. And this is why there's such a big emphasis on doing breath work, even if it's some small practice that you do every day, something like even like alternate nostril breathing. That's something that you do every day. It just gives you that moment to connect to, like, connect your outer world and your inner world. Because what happens with the mind, we tend to either be stuck in the past where there's a lot of regret, or it's thinking about the future where there's a lot of anxiety, like what will happen if I do this. So the mind tends to go between those past and future all the time. And like you say, the best place to be is in the present moment. And how to bring the mind to the present moment is through the breath. If you've ever noticed when you did deep breathing, just where is the mind? Where is the mind in that moment? You'll notice that it's right here, right now. There's no past, there's no future that you're thinking of. And it's important to understand that the nature of the mind is to oscillate between the past and the future. And in order to bring it back to this moment, we need to place the attention on the breath. And that is something that the Vedas, the secret of the Vedas, they have given that tool to us to say that this very breath that we have is the secret to living a more meaningful, more purposeful life. And when you say, there's nothing we can do about it, is something you can do about it. Bringing your attention to the breath. And it's something that has really transformed my life as well. I've incorporated breath work into my day from university times, and that has helped me overcome so many things in my life. And I don't know what I would be without it. It's something that everyone really, really, really needs, and so important for today's times.
Yes. I keep having this conversation with people. We should have had these classes in school. Even just a simple breathwork class, or even just a break between our periods, and just to center ourselves before we go into the next class, because we consume so much of information at one point. We don't have time to process it, and we're so inundated with all this information. Hence why I think I struggle with understanding concepts, because it takes me a while to understand a concept really well before I can implement it into the real world or onto a page. And I think I struggle. That's where part of the anxiety comes from, because I want to be perfect. I want to get it right. Because I didn't center myself before I went on to the next phase. And now that sometimes when I feel anxious, I just go to the breath, calm my central nervous system down, and then I go again. Thankfully, I learned it now, never too late.
Yeah.
However, it's something, like you said, it's a very important tool. So simple. You don't need to pay a subscription. You don't need to go and do an advanced course or anything. You literally come into the world, or you come into the world with the tool that can help you.
Yeah, they say when you take your breath in, you're the one that's crying, and when you take your last breath out, everyone else will be crying. And
that's so
all
true.
of the breaths, all of the breaths that we take in between is what is called life, right?
Yeah.
So there's also another, very profound Vedic wisdom that says that we've been all given a finite number of breaths in this life. And, the secret to living more fully is slowing down the breath.
Yes.
And if you think of our fast-paced lives, it's always, our breath is always fast. If you think of, and this is where the link between the breath and the emotions come in, right? It's that if your breath is very fast, if you are having sort of anxious anxiety or feeling even angry, your breath is very fast.
Yes.
Whereas if you're very calm and peaceful and happy, then your breath is more, regulated, more slow, and you're able to take those long, deep breaths. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, we really have like created a world where we constantly just taking so many breaths at a
Breaths.
time, and we need to have, and it's unavoidable, right? We are in this world, we live here, we have
Yes.
to, whatever is happening is the way it is. But that's why it's so important to have those times where we reset, and we take that time away from the world just to reset, take those deep breaths and just be with ourselves. That is what gives us the energy that um for the rest of the day. But it also, it sort of um sharpens your intuitive ability.
Yes.
That is one thing that I realized that Ayurveda has done for me. The breath work and the meditation has helped me to grow that intuitive ability to know what it is that my body needed at that time. Because, there's so many diet trends, there's so many wellness trends,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
somebody will say like, oh, ashwagandha is good for you, shilajit is good for you, take this tablet 3 times a day, whatever. And there's just so much of information, right?
Mhm.
How do you stop and say, okay, I need this? Obviously, you take guidance from someone who's studied it and has a background in it, but then also, starting to learn more about yourself to understand, okay, what is it that my body needs? How does my body respond to all of these
Right.
things? And that intuitive ability is what gets developed the more you take time away for yourself. And yeah, that's definitely something that I learned through just stepping away through the breath work and the meditation every day, just taking that time, resetting, coming back. That's so needed.
Yeah, we can have this discussion the entire day. We just keep going
Yeah,
and going.
yeah, no, definitely.
No,
Yeah.
but before we wind down, uh, just like to end the podcast on a lighter note. So, just do a quick fire round of just fun questions for you. Um, if you could use one Ayurvedic herb for the rest of your life, what would it be?
So it would be dry ginger powder. It's an excellent digestive tonic, and I highly, I love it. I
Nice.
carry it in my handbag.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, I love ginger too. Are you a morning or night person? What's your best time to self care?
Morning, definitely, because it sets the tone for the rest of the day.
One What's one Ayurvedic tip that everyone should start doing today?
So breath work, definitely incorporate some sort of breath work into your daily routine, because as I mentioned, it is the link between your external and your inner world.
Lovely. And one word to describe how Ayurveda makes you feel.
Empowered.
Love that. Thank you so much. So before we wrap up, where can people connect with you and learn more about your work?
So you can connect with me through my website. It's www.thepranaplate.com, or you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. My handle is the Prana Plate, and I share a lot of daily inspiration, just what I'm doing, how I implement Ayurveda every day into my own life, and just try to be authentic in the sense where I don't just tell you what to do, but I'm doing it myself.
And I will leave links to your page and your IG handles in the description below. So if people do want to check out the description, and all the information will be there. And before we
Thank you
go,
so much.
no problem. And any final words of wisdom for those curious about the practice of Ayurveda?
Yeah, so I'd like to bring it back to the name of my blog, which is the Prana Plate. And, true healing is rooted in prana, and that's the flow of your life force energy through your body. And if you identify what is it that raises your prana and what is it that depletes your prana, you can have such a different life. And that is truly something that we all need to just take a step back and look at every day.
Balance. Love that. Thank you so much, Janistha. I really appreciate you taking the time out today to speak to us and sharing your wisdom and your vulnerabilities also. Your stories have resonated with me quite a lot, and I hope they do with the listeners. And thank you so much for taking the time out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kishan, for having me on your podcast. And you are doing amazing work in connecting with so many people and sharing everyone's life journeys. And it's really nice to be able to share on this platform, but also know that there's so many people in this world that maybe have experienced something similar, and we
Yes.
can all just be a guiding light for people around us.
Yes, correct. We all just want to live harmoniously and peacefully. That's the journey we're on. But thank you guys so much for joining into this podcast. Hope it found you. Hope it was a profound one for you. It was definitely one for me. So thank you so much for joining in. And until the next one, everyone, stay zen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.